Okay, today's first day of Unit 7, Fundamentals of the Nervous System. We're going to do just a general overview of this system as we're winding down the semester. This should only take a couple of days. These are the high points that students need to know for the semester exam. What are the three overlapping functions of the nervous system? We have sensory, we have integration, and we have motor. We're going to get to motor output later. All right. So sensory input, or sensory, is basically detecting a stimulus. The stimulus is something that alerts your nervous system. You hear something, you taste something, you see something, you feel something. Your five senses: sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. You detect a stimulus. A mosquito just landed on your leg and it is biting you and drinking your blood. You sense that. Someone goes, "Emma." Oh. Or Sebastian. You just stand there with a blank stare when someone says your name? Sebastian. Yes. Ah, would you have said yes if someone had not said your name? You just randomly walk around. Yes? Oh, it's the voices. No. Hopefully you're not going to go, yes, if someone doesn't call your name first. That's the sensory. Integration is where you do this on a subconscious level. You basically process a response to the stimulus. You determine a response to the stimulus. All right, and then motor is you respond to the stimulus. So Sebastian. Yes. There he is. Sebastian, have you ever been bit by a mosquito before? Yes. All right, what do you do when you see the mosquito drinking your blood? You smack it. Now, what happens first in this whole series of events? You see it. Do you feel it? Yeah. Probably. So that's two of your senses. That's two triggered stimuli. You see it and you feel it. Now, here's what happens on a subconscious level. Your brain is basically like, there's this bug. It hurts. And it's drinking my blood. What am I going to do about this? Smack it. So that's your motor output. But Sebastian, I want to pause this here for a sec. Okay. Well, if it's on the video, it's on the video. I don't care. All right. Anyway, what is a neuron? This is easy. A cell of what system? A cell of the nervous system. Why would you be talking about that during second period? What's second period? Is that like part of your vocabulary? Yeah. Your favorite teacher, so ah. All right. Next one. What are the important structural components of a neuron and relate each one to its functional role? I'm about to draw the most dope neuron you have ever seen. You are going to bow in the magnificence of this neuron. It is going to be so lit you will not know what to do with yourself. It's going to look like a tree. Yup, if you can. Woo! Look at that neuron. Man, that's good. Yeah. Give you guys a moment to catch up and draw that on your paper. Then we have to label it. Yeah, if you think you can, try to keep up. Draw a tree. You know what dendrite actually means? Branch. Ooh, I forgot to draw a little. All right. So what are these structures here? Do they send signals or do they receive signals? They receive. There's been some confusion of that today. Let's get it straight. They receive signals from the previous neuron. What is the main part of the cell called? The soma. This is the body of the cell. That's what soma actually means, body. What is this long stem-like structure of the neuron? That's the axon. The axon is where the signal travels. And then these rounded, fatty little pockets, what are these are? What these are called Schwann cells. What are they made of? They're made of myelin sheath. Or they are made of myelin. It's a covering, and a covering is called a sheath, like a sword sheath. Does anyone know what multiple sclerosis is, or have you at least heard of it? MS, or multiple sclerosis, is a disease in which your own immune system is attacking the myelin sheath of a neuron. What this does is it exposes your axon, and it can cause the signal that is on the axon to jump off of it and to misfire. When I first started teaching, there was a teacher that was barely younger than me. She had to be in her maybe late 20s, and she had to wear sunglasses inside because the light intensity was too much for her to take, and she had to drive around school in a little cart because she couldn't walk. She lost control of her legs, all from MS, multiple sclerosis. Her own white blood cells were attacking her myelin sheath, exposing her neurons and causing them to misfire. So it's not a fun condition to have. It is autoimmune, which means your own immune system is attacking you. And then lastly, this is the axon terminal. This sends signals to the next cell. Okay. Remember that when we did nerve tissue way back on unit 3, nerve tissue is made of neurons. Tissues are made of cells. Ready? Okay, the next one. What is that? That is an action potential. If you were here just a couple weeks ago, actually a week ago, you learned this. So this is not on your paper. So what I'd like you to do is I want you to turn to the very, very, very back of your packet where the paper is blank. And do not take up your whole paper. Just take up like a little corner and draw this graph and label it and write the numbers 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to describe briefly what is happening in this order: 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'll give you a moment to do that. If you know the answer, please don't hesitate to respond. Let's go ahead and identify what's happening in each of the stages, beginning with stage 5. We call this resting state or resting potential. At about what voltage is the neuron at resting potential? It's about -70 millivolts, so it's definitely negative. What ion is predominantly inside the neuron? Potassium is predominantly inside. Potassium symbol is K. Potassium is predominantly inside the neuron. And what ion is predominantly outside during rest? Sodium is predominantly outside. I spelled predominant. Yeah, predominantly wrong. My bad. Okay. Am I missing anything? I think that's all. All right. Number one, stimulus. Your nervous system is activated by some environmental cue. Lily could be sleeping on the table, snoring away. And I could come right up to her ear and go, freaks out. She would not have freaked out if she didn't hear that little squeak. That's the stimulus. If someone would have flicked her ear, it's like, dude, what the heck? Why are you flicking my ear? That's feeling. That's a stimulus. When we taste something, it tastes like crap. That's a stimulus. Or it tastes good. That's a stimulus too. So your 5 senses are what is how your nervous system is able to be engaged by a stimulus. Step 2, depolarization. Okay, in depolarization, is the cell becoming more positive or more negative? Cell is becoming positively charged. What ions are rushing into it? And you can answer that by looking at the graph. Sodium ion channels open. And enter the neuron. And eventually you reach an action potential. What is the millivoltage of an action potential? It's about positive 40 millivolts. What happens at negative 55 millivolts? What is the threshold? Like what is the significance of a threshold? That's right, Sebastian. That's an easy way of saying it. It's the point of no return. The example I told you guys is most of you probably have aspirations to go to college, and something that you're going to learn is about, I'd say, 8 weeks into a semester, roughly, you have the drop deadline. If you're at a B, like let's say an 86 or so in a class, you're like, ugh, can I still get an A? Is it possible? Do I stick with this class? Do I drop it and take it next semester? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? If you decide to stay with that class and the drop deadline goes by, you are committed to that class. You have to go all the way. If you cross this threshold, you have to go through with the whole thing. But look at these failed attempts right here. Did these failed attempts cross the threshold? They did not. So they were not committed. This is, as Sebastian said, once you cross that threshold, you must go the whole way. It is the point of no return. You got to go through with it. All right, let's go on to step 4. This is after the action potential. We are at repolarization. Oh, I don't know why I called it. Thank you. You guys paying attention. Good. I'm not. Step 3. Repolarization. The neuron is becoming more negative. Now take a look at that graph. What ions are beginning to exit the neuron? Yep. Potassium. Potassium channels open. Potassium exits. Okay, now I want you guys to notice something. This is probably the most important part to get ready for the 4th and final part. I want you to look at resting potential. What ion is predominantly inside at resting potential? Where's, all right, inside is potassium. Where is it by step 3? Outside. What ion is predominantly outside the neuron at step 1? Sodium. Where is it found mostly by step 3? So what's the difference? It's totally flipped. It's like Caitlin's in the back row and Sebastian's in the front row. It's totally flipped. We have to restore things back to normal. And so in step 4, what is that pump that takes 3 sodiums out and 2 potassiums in at a time? The sodium, potassium pump. The sodium potassium pump restores the neuron to resting potential conditions. And this pump requires ATP. So what type of pump is it? Active or passive? It is an active transport pump. This is something that you all learned when we did the muscular system. So I hope this did not seem like something entirely new to you. You have seen this earlier. We're gonna move on. Final touches. Morales, you ready? All right, let's get back into it. We have already done this one. I did not include it on your list, so let's move on. Students will classify the nervous system into central and peripheral nervous system. Easy. We have your nervous system, which is one of your 11 systems, and it has 2 main branches. The central and the peripheral. All right, you psych students, what 2 main structures compose the central nervous system? Brain and spinal cord. What part of your nervous system makes up your peripheral nervous system? Everyone always forgets this. No, those are the branches. I'm talking about the actual structures. Your nervous system has only 3 parts: brain, spinal cord, and your nerves. It's not you guys. It's happened year after year after year. They forget nerves. I mean, it's called the nervous system, your nerves. Here's how I learned this. If it's not your brain and if it's not your spinal cord, it's your peripheral nervous system. So right now I'm looking at Andre. He's right in my line of sight, my central line of sight. But I'm going to ask Kylie to raise her hand. Now, Kylie, put your hand down whenever you want. She put it down. I can see Kylie, and as Andre gets uncomfortable as the teacher is staring a hole right through him, he's in my central line of sight. Central means right down the middle. Peripheral means on the sides. Your brain and your spinal cord are right down the middle. But when I feel my hand or my feet, that's your peripheral nervous system. Somebody hits you in the knee, that's your peripheral. You feel a mosquito drinking the blood out of your thigh, that's your peripheral. Your peripheral nervous system is where you sense things. So here we go. The peripheral nervous system is going to be sensory and motor. You sense things and you respond to things. But what step happens between sensory and motor? And where does integration happen? Your central nervous system, that's right. Once again, if it is not your brain and if it is not your spinal cord, it's nerves, and your nerves are part of your peripheral nervous system. Moving on. Students will define the two functional divisions of the peripheral nervous system as sensory division and motor division, okay? So here's the peripheral nervous system. Has two divisions, sensory and motor. Tell me what the interaction is between sensory branch and a stimulus. And you can't use the word sense. Lance, I was hoping someone would say detects. It detects a stimulus. Detects a stimulus. You taste something, you smell something, you hear something, like we hear girls yelling in the hallway right now. You feel something. All those senses. And then motor, Lance, if sensory detects a stimulus, what is the interaction between your motor branch and a stimulus? You react to it or you respond to it. You react or you respond. You feel the mosquito drinking your blood, you slap the mosquito. You taste something that is gross, you spit it out. You hear music that you like, you start dancing. Those are going to be sensory and motor. Any questions? All right. We have already done this one. Students will define a neuron as the structural unit of the nervous system. It's a cell of the nervous system, so that's pretty self-explanatory. We've already done that. We're not going to do it twice. But we will identify these. Students will identify the following structures of a neuron on a diagram and describe their function. All right, cell body. The main part of a cell, of a neuron, what's another name for it? Soma. The myelin sheath. Protected covering of an axon. Speeds up a signal. Dendrites. Receive signals from neurons. Axon. Transmits neurons, or excuse, transmits signals along a neuron. An axon terminal sends a signal to a target cell. All right, we'll do a couple more, starting to wrap up. I want to at least get to sympathetic and parasympathetic. Okay, this one is the neuromuscular junction. We'll do that tomorrow. What are the two divisions in the motor division of the peripheral nervous system? All right. Motor division. Nate, this is what you were saying about 5 minutes ago. You have your somatic nervous system. You have your autonomic nervous system. I want to reiterate to those of you who have not taken psych, it is autonomic, not automatic. Don't say automatic. You'll sound a little silly. Do you think you all are in, like, physiologically? I'm not talking about socially or legally or all that mumbo jumbo. I'm talking about anatomy and physiology. Are you in control of most of your body? Yeah. No. What parts of your body do you control? Muscles and your thoughts. Anything else? What controls your bones? You move your muscles. Your muscles move your bones. You cannot control your period. You cannot control puberty. You cannot control your growth spurts. You cannot control your hair growing, your hormones secreting, your organs digesting. None of that. The only thing that you can control are your muscles and your thoughts. And your somatic nervous system is just the voluntary control of your muscles. Voluntary control of muscles. That's it. And I want to make it very clear so there's no confusion. Skeletal muscles. Your autonomic nervous system is the involuntary control of pretty much everything else. Involuntary control of organs, glands, heart, etc., etc. I mean, it's tough to put numbers on it, but I would venture to say that you guys are not in control of about 90% of your bodily functions. You're not in control. No one sits there and says, digest my oatmeal now. No one does that. Period. Stop. Now. Can't do it. Okay, go for it. You do that, but it doesn't work. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. All right. The last one we'll do today is, what is the difference between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic? Emma! Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Your sympathetic nervous system is where you freak out. Your body is actually out of equilibrium and you are stressed. I'm not talking about stress from having a lot of homework. I mean that you are physically stressed. That's your sympathetic nervous system. Fight or flight. You are being chased by a rabid, giant Saint Bernard Cujo dog, and you are running for your life. That is your sympathetic nervous system in action. If Nikita had just eaten an apple and then a dog is chasing him down Dale Mabry, is his energy, is his body going to focus his energy on his digestive system or his muscular system? Muscles to either fight the dog or run from the dog. His body could care less about digesting food. And then when he has escaped and he's fine, he's calmed down, he's caught his breath, Zen, inner peace, that's your parasympathetic. This is where you're calm. You're at equilibrium. When my nieces were young and they were freaking out like all small children tend to do, we would say, take a breath, calm down, get back to your parasympathetic in charge, tell us what happened, rather than freaking out and trying to scream and shout and not be coherent. All right, we will stop there. We'll finish it tomorrow.